So, Chickering's next vector is titled Establishing Identity. Hmm. Can you think about how you've established your identity over the last 10 years? So, thinking about maybe where you were when you came into college in terms of how your sense of self and who you were and how you see yourself now?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. Um, well, I feel like when I entered college, um, I had an identity, but it was it was not entirely individualistic. It was the identity that I shared with all of my friends because when you're in high school, you probably just want to be like all the other people, or you want to be cool or whatever. And I think my identity, it was something I felt very comfortable relating to, and I felt individualistic in a sense, you know. Um, but it's very different than the way I look at my identity now, 10 years later. Um, you know, Now I see so many different facets to who I am and my identity and what comprises myself. And I look at things that are not just on the outside or not just activities I do or music I like or the way I dress or whatever. I also look at myself in terms of core values that represent who I am. And that was something I didn't really think about, when I first started college. And, if you ask, well, what are like inciting events that change that? Um, I think it was more of just it was more of like a slow change over time that gradually happened. But, you know, when I was in college, um, I don't think I changed that much. I think I had too many other distractions. I think I had too many other friends. I think, being, I was being social. I was going out. I was studying. I was working. I was focused on my classes too. I think that all those things sort of like in a way I was able to find myself, but in a way it sort of kept myself from finding myself. But I feel that once I got out of school and I started working, and I had sort of just been professionally working for a few years and had a chance to, I guess, maybe settle down in a sense, or at least arrive at a place where things in my life were fairly consistent. Um, I started thinking more about who I am as a person, what my goals and aspirations are, and what I value and what I don't. And I think that's when I sort of came into my own being as an individual. And you know, it sort of happened slowly, but I think when I was around, I'm 27 now. I think when I was around 25 or so, I sort of like reached this epiphany, um, when I realized, hey, I have a lot of my own thoughts, my own ideas. They're different than other people's, and they make me who I am. And I can't entirely explain how or why that came out. I think that happened then. I think it's just, maturity strikes people at different ages, and that's sort of when it all clicked for me. So, is that too vague?
No.
Some feedback here? I don't
No,
know.
that was great.
That's good.
I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, are there any maybe components of your identity that became, um, that you maybe started to focus on more after college compared to, I know you talked about how you were more concerned with, kind of what you wore and the music you listened to when you were in college or even before that in high school.
Right.
Um, are there other parts of you that became more prevalent, I think, afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I wasn't very political in college, even though I had political values. I didn't express them, and I sort of regret that because we went to school in a very politically turbulent time, as everybody knows. And I think I didn't fully express it because maybe I was like unsure of myself. Maybe I felt like I wasn't mature enough to fully understand everything. I don't know, but um, you know, like I said, once I had been out of school for a few years, I think I had that maturity where, like, I felt comfortable, you know, talking to people about, some of my like political views, or just being more outspoken about it. And I think it's just because I had maybe more confidence in myself, So I think that's one thing. I don't know. Are we getting off topic?
No, that's great. That's
Okay.
great.
I mean, I think that's the one thing that I sort of like, look at. I think, I just reached a time as I got a little bit older where I felt comfortable speaking up for who I am, even if it made me different than other people. And I think that's hard to do even when you're in college still, because there's still that kind of stigma that you want to fit in.
I think it's hard to do even when you're an adult.
Well, it's probably hard to do at any age. And, I guess finally I realized it's kind of okay to like dare to be different in a sense, and once I realized it was kind of like okay, I've always known it's okay. Once I personally felt comfortable with it, I was able to embrace it even more to the point where, now it's kind of just maybe a part of who I am.
Okay, great.
So